And a good day to you too, sir.
May God be with you.
So, as you can see, chivalry, like Puritanism, is certainly not dead. The Puritans were the most influential people when it comes to their way of life, their way of worshiping God, and the way that they carried themselves around the entire world, whether it be in England or now in the New World. I'm going to talk about Puritanism and the influence it had on the creation of the New World up until the 13 colonies took over, the idea of the American Revolution, and so on and so forth. I'm going to talk about three specific sources today, one of which being Perry Miller's critique of the Puritans. And Perry Miller stated that the reason later generations ceased marching to the Puritan beat was simply because we could no longer keep up with the pace of Puritanism. We ourselves could not keep up with that pace. Well, Mr. Miller, my first reaction would be that in the modern day world, there's no way we can keep up with the pace, nor could they keep up with our pace that we have set ourselves today. I mean, Puritans had this ideology that through God and only God, you can achieve salvation. So there's no sense in volunteerism and going to the soup kitchens to get that warm and toasty feeling inside. It's only God that can help you now. I believe helping others and giving alms is more satisfying than people give it credit for. However, I do agree that Puritans set a high standard for Christians to abide by and put on display by worshiping and praising should be, the way it should be. Now Mr. Miller tries to go on and paint a picture that Puritans are the saviors and they've been put in a bad way and that they should somehow be salvaged because of the way that they salvaged and saved the old world or the new world that it was back in the 16 and 1700s. My disagreements start with the intolerance that the Puritans had shown even though God himself was open to all worshipers. The fact that Puritans were open to judge and that if you did not worship their way, you could go worship somewhere else. Do not let the proverbial door hit you on your way out. In Mark Noll's book, he tries to establish that Puritans were crucial in the creation of the way of life. He called it the New England way of life. I like that. I think that's something that we should get back to as Americans. Throughout chapter 2, Noll talks about the influence of Puritanism on developing American, and when you analyze it, what they actually gave us. They gave us an ordered standard of living, proper ways to worship, becoming spiritually connected, and unfortunately the negative effects of intoleration. Intoleration is a very, very big problem that we have in our country today. Puritans were the first ones to show us what intolerance gets you. It gets you the Salem witch trials. It gets you unhappy worshipers that go somewhere else to find the greener pastures. The Salem witch trials were the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to Puritanism. It exposed the rash decisions that they made, lunacy, and lack of comprehension towards women, towards high-standing members of society. But however, because they didn't worship the Puritan way, it was seen as being in worshiping with the devil and as being heathen-like. My last point I would like to bring up is a quote from the Aldine, which is a New York-based paper that was published in the 1800s. This particular article comes from an article entitled "The Puritans and the Cavaliers." Cavaliers coming the swashbuckler Peter Pan type people coming from Virginia. And in it, this particular article was published in January 1873, in which the article writes, "There were loyal and devoted English subjects and had been in such the reign of Elizabeth I," talking about Elizabeth I's reign in England and how they were loyal and devoted subjects. I do agree they were loyal and devoted. However, I believe these people were loyal to a fault. I am loyal to a fault. A lot of men can say they are loyal to a fault. I will go down with the ship. And they would follow it to the depths from which it came. So as much as people want to cast a dark shadow on the hateful, intolerant Puritans, they should first recognize a few things. Their loyalty to themselves, and above all, their loyalty to their faith. And these are just some of the things that the Puritans had a profound effect on our country, and the reason why, yes, they were flawed, but it is an example of faith and worship that we should abide by. Thank you. I'll see you next time.